Alrighty, everyone, we are back for another episode of your weekly pop culture apocalypse. As always, I am your co-host Gnarly Quinn, joined by the main man Matthias, and welcome. So we
Hi,
have a
everybody.
yeah, welcome. We have a very interesting episode for you today. Matthias hit me with a kind of a cool one. I genuinely enjoyed it, and I have a little bit of history to check out. So if you would like to start off.
Yeah, I figure today we could talk about zombies, and
Yeah.
they've been pretty prevalent in my life, pop culture wise, since I was a kid. I remember, zombie costumes, zombies on TV, some video games, Resident Evil in the 90s. What I want to talk about today is how they became like a pop culture icon in the late 2000s to early to mid-ish 2010s, and how that came to be and what went going on there. What I could say is I'm glad that we were around to witness it, because it was pretty sweet. I'm not saying it's completely dead, but I don't see it as big as it used to be. Like, I remember when I graduated in 2009 and from high school, I seen zombies like you seen, like The Walking Dead, I believe, kind of is like the leader of the pack there. That really blew up things, zombie wise. And then a lot of Call of Duty games, like the Black Ops games, had zombie game modes that were awesome. Like movies, the first one that comes to my mind, which I've never read the book, but I hear the book is 10 times better than the movie, is at World War Z. And I remember that was a big thing back when it came out. Like 10, 12, 13 years ago now. But I remember it just being like, this is the next big movie, which it was pretty hard for movies in the 2010s because they had to compete with the MCU, which was damn hard. But
did you actually watch that movie?
World War Z?
Yeah.
I did a couple times. I didn't hate it. I liked the movie. I'm not saying I like some movies I'll watch and then the next day I'll watch it again or whatever. I just remember in that movie has one of the dumbest death scenes I've ever seen in my life. You know what I'm talking about?
There was a couple for me where I was like, oh, what? Wait a second. I mean, it was a really good movie, and like the first time I watched it, it was very fascinating to me. And obviously, like popcorn movie, I get so sucked in. Like there was so much anxiety, there was so much urgency in that movie, and I did thoroughly enjoy it the first time. The second time around, I kind of like put it on for background noise, and I looked up right at the right time, and I was like, what is this?
Oh my God!
Just little things that I didn't catch before.
It's a good thing. Like, it was just a group of us in the living room, and thank God there's no kids, because I don't think I remember ever screaming like, what the WTF, as loud as I did. The guy just turned around on that ramp and on that plane, tripped, and then shot himself.
Yep.
I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, really?
I think like it seemed really dumb at the time, but also I think the movie did a really good job of showing like how everyone's thoughts were, because think of it, your world is literally collapsing as you see it. And like that for that dude, that one trip was like all it took, and he's like, nope, I'm done. Like, this is not even worth it.
Yeah. I feel this game kind of rode this stride of the zombie epidemic, how popular it was. It was replaced, you probably heard of it, The Last of Us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, geez, they made a whole TV show out of it. Which I won't classify that in the which I won't classify that in the 2010s, because it did not come out in the 2010s, and that's not what we're talking about. So, but still, okay. Like, I hadn't played the games, but I did watch the show, and I'm not sure about you, but like whenever you're talking about like zombies or the living dead or some kind of infection in any way, shape, or form, I don't know if you want to classify that as zombies, but they all kind of fall into the same category a little bit for me personally.
It's like post-apocalyptic infection, virus, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
and I mean, literally like The Walking Dead. People, they can't control what they're doing. Like I remember, I was a few years behind watching The Walking Dead because I don't think we had AMC. I don't think we had that yet. And then Netflix got it, and we binge watched the first 3 seasons, and it was phenomenal. But I feel like that show really kind of led the way for how popular that was back in the 2010s.
I mean, geez, everyone that I knew was talking about it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Robert Kirkman, he's a hell of a writer. I like he did Invincible. I know he did. I know he did a couple other projects I can't think of off the top of my head. But as for zombies, I don't think they ever did an accomplishment like that in any TV show off the top of my head. For using zombies, I can't think of anything right now.
I was going to go into a bit of a rant because I think I don't want to say we're a product of our times here a little bit, but
we are.
Yeah, because the zombie thing, it's nothing new. Like it's really nothing new. I mean, geez, you had, if you're talking about just horror in terms of a culture, Dracula in 1931, like it popularized and like created the horror genre as we know it. And then like one of the earliest zombie movies that you had was White Zombie, directed by Victor Halperin, and it starred Bela Lugosi. It was called White Zombie in 1932, and that kind of kicked off a whole string of zombie movies, Living Dead, like things along those lines. I mean, that movie was based heavily off of like Haitian folklore and like the voodoo practices that surrounded the zombies and like all of that. But after that, in 1931, you had like Frankenstein, and then in 35, you had like The Bride of Frankenstein, which again, like more undead tones. In 1941, you had like King of the Zombies, and then you had Valley of the Zombies in 46. And then really kicking off that whole era, I feel like, and really popularizing it, like sending it into that wave, was I Walked with a Zombie in 1943. It was that World War II area. And I think a lot of zombie movies kind of reflect what's going on at the time, too. Like things, current events that are happening in the world. Because, I mean, geez, you're smack dab in the middle of World War II. It feels like your world is ending. You know, men are getting sent off to die. And it's crazy. But it kind of reflects on where we're at in life. And also for me personally, I think it's hard. This is also why I have trouble with movies as well. Obviously, all of these movies you may or may not have heard of, but they were super popular at the time. They kind of kick-started the whole horror theme, and then we went into a new era. And also the technology that we had whenever we're actually producing these now, it gave us the opportunity to produce more, for people to see more, because then you had like things like streaming services, you had like all of these things. So people didn't need to go to a theater in order to watch these things, and you can just wait for it to come out on Netflix or something like that. So you had a more plethora of zombie movies, but still with the same kind of basis too. So yeah, it's interesting to me that that whole craze was nothing new. It just came in a different form and at a different time.
Yeah, and I remember back around that time, like I think it was 08 or 09, there's that movie Shaun of the Dead.
Oh God,
brilliant
I love that movie.
Really great movie, and it took the genre, and it was funny, but it had brains and it had thought behind it. It wasn't just some dumb movie. It was actually really good. Really good story.
It's the perfect amount of like satirical ragging on all these zombie movies, but at the same time actually having a really good story behind it.
It is, yeah. And if you pay attention at the start of the movie when they're in the bar, he's talking about what they're going to do, and everything he says, it's like a brilliant foreshadow of what happens the whole way in the movie. It just, when you see it the first time, you don't notice it, but then you watch it a few more times, he's actually explaining what happens during the whole movie. But no, it's a good movie.
I love movies like that.
Yeah, subtle foreshadowing. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I do thoroughly enjoy that.
Yeah, there was one, I'm trying to think of another zombie.
Have you ever watched The Crazies?
The Crazies. That sounds familiar. What is that?
Basically, what happens is a plane goes down in like this small town, and you don't really know what's happening. Just these people just kind of start turning into it. It opens up with an old farmer walking onto a baseball field with, I think it's like a baseball bat or something like that. And you can tell something's not right. It was directed by Breck Eisner. It was released in 2010. It went directly along with the zombie movie vibe. There was some kind of infection that was spread along this like small town, and not to spoil too much for it. It does deal with the zombies a little bit and kind of infections. It's more so infections, kind of like The Last of Us, but zombie-esque movie where people can't control themselves. They can't control what they're doing. They just get this extreme sense of rage, and they're killing either themselves or each other. It is crazy. It absolutely is. There is a really good ending to it. I do like it, and I won't spoil it, but
That's okay.
I do like that movie very much so.
I should bring this up because, okay, it came out during the zombie craze, and it kind of goes with the post-apocalyptic or survival. You ever heard of the show called Attack on Titan?
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of in the realm of what we're talking about, because you got the society that's behind those walls and it's getting attacked by those giant, I don't know, mindless, I guess you call it, people that want to eat them.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of came out around the same time as a zombie. I just now thought of that. I only watched the first 2 or 3 seasons, and then I never went back, and I don't know why. I don't know why I never went back. But I feel like that kind of fits in what we're talking about. The whole humanity's last, stand, blah, blah, blah. They have to survive, make tough decisions against all odds, fighting against these creatures. And they range from like 10 feet tall to 100 feet tall. It's crazy. And all they do, they're just mindless beings that just want to beat humanity. But I feel like that kind of goes in the realm of what we're talking about here. I feel a lot of these IPs kind of worked. I don't want to say worked off of one another, but I feel it kind of got the ball rolling on this whole popularization. What we're talking about.
Yeah, like the repopularization, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of bringing that back. I mean, obviously folklore and just the dark and macabre, the folklore aspect of it, the fantasy, dystopian. That's been a part of pop culture since like early films, obviously. But yeah, kind of repopularizing that in such a way was, I don't want to say it was a feat, but I think everyone kind of banded together and they were like, okay, yeah, this is kind of a little bit different than what we're used to. And also I think there were some life events that were going on at the time or had gone on at the time where everyone can kind of relate to it a little bit, where even though you might not feel like it's a dystopian future, but it might make you feel a little bit better about the situation that you're in for a little bit. Like, yeah, things are bad, but they're not that bad.
And when you do something like this, you kind of want to make your own thing unique. That's why I like Last of Us. That's not really zombies, but it is. You know what I mean? All that virus came from a fungus.
Yeah. I think that's why I liked that's why I like the Crazies so much, because it was very Last of Us-esque, where it was, like a government, you find out that it was a government experiment. I mean, it's not super secret, but caused by a plane crash, there was a virus that got out, and then, all of a sudden, all these people, they were going into this rage, killing each other. They couldn't control themselves. So you got the fungus aspect of it, and then you have like a man-made virus aspect of it. It's kind of in the same vein. It's different than most zombie movies that you would think of.
I remember like Call of Duty. I remember getting the 360, and then I never played any Call of Duties until like the 360, because then Call of Duty 2 came out, and then Call of Duty 3, and Call of Duty 4, and then I think then the Black Ops or World at War came out, and then the Black Ops. Actually, World at War started it, because when you beat the game, you unlock that mode, that zombies mode. And it had no hint about it. There was nothing in the book that came back then. When you got a game, you got a book with it. It was completely hidden. They didn't tease it at all. And I was like, what the hell, zombies? And then I ended up playing that more than the multiplayer and the campaign, because that's how fun it was.
Yeah, and if you weren't expecting it either, that was kind of like a nice little surprise. We're like, what is this?
Yeah, really. They just came out of nowhere. And that's like one of the main, I know Call of Duty is what it is today, but it still has zombie modes because they know people love it.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they made an effort in the newest Call of Duty to actually keep zombies or put them back in the games. So I think I know Modern Warfare didn't have them, and I think people were a bit outraged because of it.
Yeah, the last one I played, which in my opinion is the best Call of Duty, is Black Ops 2. That's my opinion. It's the best one because
I ain't arguing with that.
It is, because you can, the campaign is phenomenal. Its replayability is great. Its multiplayer is insane. And its zombie mode has that transit mode. And it literally is so memorable and awesome. A lot of hours, a lot of nights playing that transit mode.
My siblings and I have a lot of memories on that game.
I don't know, maybe the fad will come back. Like, I noticed it hasn't completely died off.
No, I think, like with every franchise, I mean, look at Star Wars. You know, give it a few years. It had its fun. It's had its moment. Give it a few years, and then maybe do another movie. See if it comes back. See if people were interested. See if more people get interested. Things along those lines. It's kind of like every franchise.
They should put zombies in Star Wars.
I'm sure somebody's like in the comments being like, "They did put zombies in Star Wars. Technically, you have."
Oh, I know. You know, as much as a Star Wars fan I am, I maybe know a fraction of every damn thing that franchise has put its fingers in.
Yeah, well, because the thing about Star Wars is the world is so expansive, and there is so much knowledge to be had in that. Because the movies, if I understand correctly, the movies and like the different timelines, like all of it is just like the tip of the iceberg if you really get into it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. We got to wrap this up here. I just figured I'd talk about the whole zombie craze and how awesome it was to live in that. Or to be, part of that whole thing.
Oh, yeah. And to have the movies that we had, like, even though it was kind of a resurfacing of older topics, to have the movies that we had, to have the minds that we had create those movies, and also just the streaming services and the technology to actually go about, like, reinventing this in a modern way was what a time to be alive, man. What a time to be alive.
We're going to cut here for part 2. Everyone just sit tight, and we'll be back.
And we are back for part 2 of these 2010's zombie movie craze. All right, Matt, how would you like to wrap this up?
No, I just, I was thinking here in a commercial break, what is very relatable to, is this gonna happen is this gonna happen in real life? I don't know. I mean, it could, but I don't want it to happen.
No.
But, I know the government, I'm not kidding, they have a law, but they have like a security thing if the zombie apocalypse does happen. Like, they're ready for it, which kind of scares me. But, but no, I think it's relatable to me because no matter if it's like The Walking Dead or if it's The Last of Us, Night of the Living Dead, whatever you want to pick, it's just funny because it shows you when the situation pops up in this, everyone's going to handle it differently.
Yes.
I mean, essentially, you're taking on a hordes of infected people, and they're literally let's just take Walking Dead, for example, because you don't want the Resident Evil zombies. That's just bad. So we'll just take the Walking Dead. I know, the Walking Dead zombies. They're brainless. They are. They're walking. They can't run. It's the, going a mile a minute. And
kind of like a classic zombie take. I like it.
It is, yeah. But the thing is, it's still life-threatening because if you don't pay attention, the horde will kill you. Like, hordes, they'll outnumber you. That's just what happens.
Oh, yeah.
You might not have enough ammo. If you're going for a supply run, you don't know if you're going to be running into a horde or not. And it's cool how different, not just TV shows, but just the people in the TV shows react to the situation. And like society, in a lot of these TV shows and books and stories, it shows how different people's handle and try to rebuild society in their own way and their own dogmatic view. Let's say, for example, The Walking Dead, got Rick Grimes and his crew. Pretty much the way you view them is pretty much how you'd want to live. But if you turn it over to how Negan ran things, which is pretty much a dictator, that you will have rebellion because your voice is so vast that you kind of really won't let no one else have their thoughts. And then you could be like, in later seasons, there was a character named Alpha, and she had her own crew, and she actually used the zombies as weapons because they blended in. She had her people blend in with the hordes to control them. It's just really neat how each take is. It's pretty amazing how this works. And
that's also kind of goes to show like the dichotomy of, I don't want to say dichotomy, but like the different perspectives that humans can actually have, where you have one person that's like, nope, I'm going to be in charge. I'm going to take over. I'm going to be in charge. This is how things are going to be ran because this is how the way that I want it to be ran. And then you have the other side of it to where it's like, okay, we can all work together. You know, this is a thing that we all can fight, kind of like a different take on things. And then you have the people that are kind of working behind the scenes a little bit or trying to blend in with everybody else, but also change the outcome of things in a way that would benefit humanity. Very interesting. Yeah. Very interesting.
I'm just using Walking Dead as an example, but
well, it depends on what movie that you watch. You have those dynamics during everything. I mean, geez, whenever you said about blending in, World War Z actually.
Yes.
World War Z is a good example of that. And then you can go down through the multiple zombie apocalypse movies and find different aspects of each one of those characters in different movies.
Oh yeah, I mean it's because it's never just like subtlety's gone. You know, it's never black and white because now governments and laws are they're gone. The values that we as, citizens of not just the United States, but, of Earth, all those are gone. Like gone, white, clean slate. No, not a clean slate, just a rough slate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because we're kind of back to not really prehistoric times, but we're back to the days of there's not technology anymore. There's not the daily struggles of life aren't really breathing down your neck, and you're literally just trying to survive. That's all.
Exactly. I remember my one buddy used to work with. He never watched Walking Dead, but I would explain it to him every Monday. I'd tell him the episode that I just watched because I'd have new episodes on Sundays. And he goes, "Did you tell me they're attracted to noise?" I'm like, "Yeah." So what he proposed was get a windmill and rig up a system where it would just sound a siren all day, and they'd all get attracted to that windmill and organize a mechanism that's around the windmill because it's going to be turning because of the wind, and have it like a rotating like barbed wire fence and bar that just spins around all day, and it'll just trap these zombies. It might not kill them, but it will trap them so you can just go up to them and just kill them. And I'm like, dude, that's genius because you're not putting anyone in danger.
Yeah. I think the ingenuity too comes into play as well with things like that. You have so many different ways and also people coming up with so many different ways to defend themselves and also try to kind of take care of the problem.
I remember one episode back in later seasons when I don't want to say I quit watching. I just didn't get time again. But whenever this antagonist, her name was Alpha, where she used the walkers to control and take over settlements or whoever. And let me tell you, she controlled like tens of thousands of zombies. Like they pretty much called it a nuke because you didn't have enough ammo to stop all that. But what I was suggesting the one night was, I'm like, wait a minute. Let's say there's 100 to 200 people in that mob, and what they did was they would actually have a sniper and pick out random zombies in that horde and shoot them in the leg or something. Or even throw rocks to see, because you throw a rock at a zombie, it's going to be, and still walk forward. But if you hit somebody and then like, it's like the zombies are like, oh, look, it's food right beside me. I was suggesting like, dude, just get like gas grenades or some kind of smoke and like smoke them out, throw them in the hordes, and they'll start coughing and wheezing because I doubt the zombies will do that, and then that'll give up their position. But no, that's just the kind of stuff that we think about every time an episode would end. My friends and I would just be like, "How would you handle that?" And that was one of the ideas we had. I'm getting off track here, but back to what I'm saying is I think it's really the whole zombie thing. It's very cool seeing how everyone's going to handle the end of the world, and they're not all going to have the same ideas.
Yes. Because everyone gets creative, and I think a lot of creative ideas behind all of these movies, especially with like directors and writers, it's almost the same basic concept, but there's different ways of handling all of it, and there's also different outcomes that you can have, and especially now with the way that CGI and movies have progressed so much. Yeah. Throughout the world. And I mean, geez, even like Army of the Dead, you have like the concept of them actually becoming smarter and actually having an army, having a leader, and being capable of love too. Like that's an interesting concept as well. Like because imagine a world where you're in a zombie apocalypse and that happens. Like, whoa, hold up. That's a whole different take on it. Which I mean, that was a really fun movie to watch, but also like very intense. So another zombie movie, but it was fun.
I mean, it's
and also
really
a different
smart,
take.
right? And it's really smart because, like, Walking Dead, they almost, I want to say they're not perfect, but they thought about a lot of things when this apocalypse happened and they got the virus. Throughout the seasons, these walkers that got infected towards the beginning, their bodies started to wear because they weren't they weren't actually living. Yeah. Their body, like, I'm thinking to myself, well, hell, if you just like survive longer, they'll just diminish and just like wear.
Yeah, and I think it was like The Last of Us 2 had touched on, because after you basically stop the infection and there's like nothing left for them to eat, eventually they will die off. So if you stop the spread and stop the infection, and also too, you have so many zombies too, so their main food supply is going to diminish eventually, and they will die, or they just will cease to be walking around and trying to eat you. It's a very interesting concept too.
Yeah, they're going to.
You don't have to kill them all. You just kind of got to defend yourself.
Yeah, they're going to decompose in real time.
Eventually, they're just not going to have
someone who's dead. Yeah, that's a really cool idea, because it's just, you're going to have these hordes of zombies that are like 10, 15, 20 years old, and the body parts are just going to start whittling away where they can't even walk, and then it won't really be a threat no more. Let me say that they won't be as threatening as they were when they first started out.
Yeah, absolutely. And
then you get shows or games like, Resident Evil with the T virus, and they start messing with genetics and they start making shit like liquors and freaking Nemesis, where it's like, we might have brought enough ammo, but I don't think it's going to matter.
No, that's just complete dystopian, like no hope at all whatsoever.
Yeah, because it's pretty much like Terminator. You're having this thing who might get killed with enough bullets, but it's probably not going to be worth it because all that noise is going to draw all those zombies to you. So it's like, oh my God. It's like no matter what you do, you can't win. You know what I mean?
No, it's hopeless. It's hopeless.
Unless you have a gun. I'm pretty sure if you had a cannon that still worked and hit him with that 3 or 4 pound cannonball, I'm pretty sure that'll affect him.
Probably. I mean, it might slow him down for a minute.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I could just see it, like you're like 30 yards away and you launch that thing and it just bounces off of him. God.
Imagine being like, yes, I finally have it. The weapon that can defeat him. And then you like go through with it and you just watch it fail in real time. Yeah. You're like, oh no. The hope that you had is just gone.
Yeah, at that moment, the morale that you had with your party is just gone. Non-existent. It ran away faster than you did.
Freaking tanked. It died the second it bounced off. Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Yep. At that point, it's like, why run? Because we'll just die tired.
Yeah. God, I don't want to die tired.
But it's not how it's cool how they use that. But no, I just think that zombie craze, that fad that happened in the mid 2010s, or we said late 2000s, early 2010s to mid 2010s, was pretty cool. Like seeing all, because it was big, it was happening, and all these companies and books, and that was it. That was like where you wanted to be. Like I said, I'm not sure it's not as popular as it used to be about 10, 15 years ago, but it's just cool to see that, how everyone did it their own way, seeing the characters in your story handle things. I think that's what made it kind of relatable and cool.
Yeah, it was kind of nice to see like that not really reimagining, but there were all these different movies after, especially during like the first real movies or like horror movies and zombie movies started coming out. It was nice to kind of see that resurface and be brought back into light in the era that we were in, if that makes any sense. Oh, it was nice to see that kind of updated version. Nice to see more modern concepts that everyone can relate to or can kind of put themselves into. Like those scenarios that people can kind of put themselves into. And that also kind of gave way to like you can take it too far to where you're like, oh my God, this is actually going to happen. We got to start preparing. Right now. Let's dig bunkers like that. I mean, call me crazy, but yeah, it can give way to stuff like that. But
like, I'm sure it'll come back, but right now, I'm not sure I don't know. Like, I even think the superhero thing's kind of not dwindling, but it's not as popular as it used to be. They call it the superhero fatigue. I'm not sure what's really popular right now. I'm not in that crew. I'm not in that group.
I mean, don't get me wrong, horror movies today, just in general, whether it's like the zombie-esque movies or just paranormal, monster movies, all of it, they're still pretty popular today. I know the Wolfman movie had just came out, and there's a bunch of movies that are horror movies, especially, that are still coming out. And I think that's kind of rose to the top a little bit in my opinion. But again, that'll go through the fatigue, and they'll take a break for a little bit, or one person's going to make that one movie that's kind of going to take the focus, and then it'll take a break, and you'll just keep cycling through interests, which is nice. I do thoroughly enjoy that.
Before we wrap up, there was it's not a zombie movie, but it was a virus movie. It was like an underrated gem in like 2009, 2010, 2011. It was called Daywalkers or Daybreakers. It was that movie where everybody was, like, the mass population were vampires. And it was an infection. And they had to farm humans to live. Like, I'm not kidding. It was like 90% of the world's population were vampires. And the thing of that, so they had to, farm humans to live. And they lived just like us. They had jobs, they had to pay mortgages. They lived just like us, except they were active during the nighttime instead of the daytime. But I'm going to spoil this because I think it was a pretty cool twist. Was in the movie, the main character finds these rebel humans that are surviving. And one of the leaders got healed because he went out in the sunlight long enough. It actually cured him he went back to being a human. Oh. And the other twist of the movie was he was getting attacked by vampires, this guy that got cured, and all the vampires that bit him turned human because he became the cure.
Dude.
Really awesome twist.
That's a good twist.
Like, he got bit, and it's like, oh, shit, he's going back to being a vampire, and then he starts monologuing, and he steps out in the light, and he doesn't get burned. And it's like, oh, shit, and then you see the soldiers that bit him turn human. It's a pretty cool twist. It was.
That's cool. That's really cool.
It was neat. I think it's called Daybreakers or Daywalkers. I really recommend it. It's pretty cool, underrated gem. We're going to wrap this up today, but I just wanted to, talk about how awesome it was for the Zombie Craze. And hopefully it comes back, because it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a very interesting one. Or at least, like, you get some new ideas coming out. That would be cool, too.
Yeah. All right, people. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, and share. We'd like to get more of an audience, and please give us feedback of what you want us to do. What would you like to see?
Absolutely. All right, Matthias. We will see you next week.
Yeah.
Take it easy, guys. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today's episode. Again, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments, what is your favorite zombie movie, past or present, just of all time? What's your favorite zombie movie? We will see you on next week's episode of Apocalypse.